This is my 1978 Yamaha DT400. This is a 400cc two-stroke motorcycle. As you can see, this is an enduro. It's got turn signals and all the stuff it needs to be street legal. But as you can also tell, it needs a lot of love. So I'm actually going to be fixing this up and giving it to a friend of mine. Since I'm moving, I'm not going to keep this. There's a few things that we've got to do. So as you can see, there's no carburetor on it and there's no spark plug in it, and that's because I took those out a while ago, rebuilt the carburetor and got that in the workshop ready to go back on. Got a new spark plug for it, new fuel filter and that sort of thing. That brings me to the fuel tank. It's also in the shop because it is super rusty inside, so we're going to take care of that as well. The seat is actually over there on the ground. It fell off as I was pulling it out of the weeds. Another thing I'm going to be doing is I'm giving this to a buddy that owns a farm, and I think he's going to be using it mostly for doing things around the farm. So we're going to build in some like a headlight protector, and I'm thinking a little luggage rack off the front fender and another luggage rack off the back fender, so he can carry some stuff around and actually get some work done with this thing. Believe it or not, about 2 years ago when I tore into it, it was running, even though it looks like it isn't. But it should be fun. Let's get into it. I think we'll start. We need to hose it down. Okay, for those of you who are a little bit concerned about me spraying the hose all over this thing without a carburetor and such, I put a shopping bag in the intake and I put an old spark plug in the spark plug hole just to prevent water from getting in the engine. These are the bits that I rebuilt a while ago, a few months ago. Completely rebuilt this carburetor inside and out. And now when I say rebuilt, I meant hillbilly overhaul. I didn't replace any valves or like the needle valve and such, or the floats or anything like that. I just made sure everything was within spec, replaced the gaskets and cleaned everything really well. And I've rebuilt this particular carburetor countless times. I used to ride this bike a lot. The other thing was the petcock was leaking a lot, and so I replaced all the seals in it. And here's some of the old seals. They were getting pretty crusty, so replaced all those. Had this new spark plug kicking around. I checked it is the right one for this bike. It actually might be a little hotter than normal for this bike, but that should be okay. It's going to be a farm bike. This is the old fuel filter. You can see how gross and crusty that is, and it's definitely got some chunks in it. So again, I had this filter kicking around. I think maybe same kit that the spark plug came with, so that'll be real handy. Sorry I didn't film rebuilding all of this. One other thing is I do have this pod filter for the carburetor, so I need to clean that and oil that as well, and that just fits over like that so we can get some clean air into the engine. Here's the fuel tank. Little dented rattle can paint job just like the rest of the bike. That's the way I like things. But you can see just on the edge here, that's pretty rusty. And it's at least that rusty on the inside. That's why I've had to rebuild that carburetor many times, is this tank has been rusty pretty much the entire time I've had the bike. But today I'm gonna fix that. In order to fix the rust inside this tank, I'm gonna go through multiple steps. We're doing this on the real cheap. You can buy one of those motorcycle gas tank repair kits. It comes with a bunch of chemicals and different multi-step thing to clean out all the rust and then coat the inside. We're going to do it an old school way that might be a little bit more work, but it's going to be a whole lot cheaper. So I've got this stainless steel chain, got the garden hose set up. This goes right down in the tank, and I'm going to put some water in it, shake it around, knock any of the big loose stuff off, and we're going to kind of do that until the water mostly comes out clear, and then we'll move on to the next step. it's still pretty rusty in there. So I'm gonna shake this probably 4 or 5 more times, try to knock as much of the scale off of there as I can. So back at it. Okay, we're done shaking the tank with the chain in it. It is still pretty rusty in there, but we've knocked off all the big rust flakes and chunks. I also cleaned up around the top with some steel wool and dumped out all the water that I could. Next step is, I showed this on a previous video about some tools. I'm going to use this Metal Rescue Rust Remover, and it is water-based, so if there's a little bit of water still left in here, it's not going to really harm it. And this stuff does wonders. This should eat away the majority of the rust. Alright, that is almost full. I think I'm going to add just a little bit more. Oh, never mind. Completely out. 2 gallons should be enough. I think this tank is only 2.5 gallons or so. The other great thing about this stuff is it's non-toxic, and there's no smell or vapor or anything off of this stuff. It's great. We're gonna let that sit at least for a few hours, if not overnight, and I'll come rotate it occasionally so that we can get all the sides and get as much rust as we can off. Well, with the tank marinating, we're gonna focus on other things on the bike. The first thing I'm gonna mess with is this shift lever. Now this attaches to the transmission like this, and as you can see, the part where your foot pushes on the lever is down at an angle. It needs to be straight across. So this really digs into your foot, top of your foot, and that's not fun. I'm gonna put it in the vise and see if I can't bend it back in shape, and if I need to, I might apply a little heat. Well, that was pretty easy, and I think that's just about right. I'm gonna go put it on the bike and see if it looks okay. Yeah, that is so much better. Before, it was coming out like this. Now it's straight across. Now we gotta make sure there's enough clearance. Oh yeah, plenty. There's one more thing we're gonna do to this before we permanently put it back on the bike. We're going to give it a quick paint job so it looks nice and new. Now this back tire is flat. The tube in it must have a hole in it. I tried to put air in it, no luck. So we've got to remove the rear wheel. That's pretty simple. Just take out the nut, undo the brakes on the other side, pull the axle out. That wheel should move forward to move the chain out of the way, and then pull this whole thing off. Also, another thing to note, on this castle nut there's supposed to be a keeper pin. I did not remove it before I started filming. It's just not on there, so I'm going to take note of this position. It was 1 after 4. Oh, there's a keeper pin in this guy, but it was not bent correctly and it almost fell out. Alright, I had very little luck trying to get this up, so I'm gonna lube it up a bit. Hopefully this will give us what we need. Whew. Old tube out. Alright, I took the new tube over to the air compressor, put a little air in it, now just to kind of get it unflattened in a little round. We'll start with the valve stem. Let's put where it belongs. Alright, and then start putting the tire back in. got the new tube in, it's got air in it, put the wheel back together. Everything should be pretty good right there. Okay, let's get this carburetor back in here. Still need to clean this filter, but I'm just going to put it on here for now so that things can't crawl into the carburetor. Alright, I've already gapped the spark plug. Time to put it in. Alrighty, that should be on there good. Put the spark plug wire back on there. Okay, our tank has been sitting overnight with the rust remover solution in it. I did notice it is leaking though, back here. Probably because where the petcock goes, I just put a piece of duct tape. I think there's still quite a bit of juice in here. Oh yeah, it's still pretty well full. Oh man, it's looking really good actually. So I'm gonna try and pour as much of this back in here as I can, and I'm probably gonna totally fail. This stuff is reusable, so I want to save as much as possible. Actually, I think I'm gonna do this in the gravel. And you can see that a lot of the rust is gone now, which is great. So now that most of the rust has gone out of the tank, we are going to move on to our final couple steps. First, I'm going to rinse it out with water because this stuff usually leaves some black stuff in there. So I'm going to rinse it out with water again, and then we're going to rinse it out with acetone. Acetone should draw all the water out of the tank and also clean up any final residue that's in there. And then our tank really should be good to go. And we'll just eat away the paint that's around there, that's fine, because that's what acetone likes to do. Probably should try not to spill this on the ground. I'm gonna put it in a jug and take it to a proper waste place. Okay, that's pretty much it for the inside of our tank. I'm gonna let this sit here, and the rest of that acetone will evaporate out of the tank. We should be good to go to then put fuel in it after we put it on the bike, and after we put some more paint on it. Or, you know, maybe it looks cool beat up like that. I don't know, haven't decided yet. It is time to see if this thing will start. Got my fuel and oil mix here. This thing did have an auto lube system back in the day, but it didn't work, and so I removed it many years ago. Well, it appears the engine is froze up. Guess I should have checked that. I rebuilt the carburetor several months ago, and it's been off the bike for that long, and even though I was careful plugging up the hole while I was rinsing down the bike, it did stay open during that whole time I had the carburetor off in the shop, so must have got some water in there. Okay, I'll try my darndest to get some of this penetrating oil down in there. Fill this up as much as we can. Oh, sweet. Okay, got it all the way filled. Just kind of what I was hoping for. Now hopefully that stuff will sit in there and free up the rings, and then we'll be able to turn this thing over. But now all we got to do is wait. Let this stuff do its magic. Okay, it's the next day. The PB blaster has been sitting in there for about 24 hours actually. I can take off this side cover here, get to where I can put some leverage right on the crankshaft, see if we can't get this thing to turn over. Oh. Wait, was it really that easy? Is this free? Or did I break something? You can hear compression. It's stuck right here though. So there's just a little bit of corrosion or something preventing it from rotating all the way. Whew. That was easier than I thought, thankfully. Let's see if we can get this thing in neutral. Alright, and we are free. Sweet. That was a whole lot easier than I thought it was going to be. Oh yeah, I'm not sure if you saw this. This is a repair that I had to do a long time ago. The nut that holds the front sprocket on actually fell off while I was riding, and the front sprocket fell onto the threads that were cut onto the shaft and tore them all off because the engine was spinning. So to fix it, I cut the head off of a bolt, welded it to the end of the shaft, surprisingly straight, and stacked these washers and this nut on here to hold the front sprocket on. It is very, very janky, but it works. And again, this is not meant to be a really nice bike. This is meant to be a thrown together ranch apocalypse bike. It's going to live out its final days on my friend's farm. Okay, engine's free, spark plug's back in, fuel is on. Second attempt at trying to start this thing. Ooh, almost. Oh, almost. Oh, yeah. Really smoky, probably because it's burning off that PB blaster. Also, probably got down to the crankcase, so I'll have to drain the oil, but it lives. Okay, that's all for this one. Got it running. I'm super happy with that. It's a bit faster than I remember, which is good. I think my friend will really like it. Next one, I'm gonna build some luggage racks for this thing, maybe some protectors, delete the turn signals, get this thing looking more Mad Max than it is now, and maybe a little more helpful for my friend on his farm. Anyway, go ahead and like it and subscribe it if you like it. And got stickers and t-shirts and stuff available for sale. Links in the description. Also join us on Discord. That link will be down there as well. And I actually opened a Twitter account and an Instagram account as well. So if you want updates while I'm doing stuff, that's where you want to go follow me. That will be in the description as well. So thanks for watching.